Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where the timer to my top right, there it is, indicates the start of Champion Select. And with half of the games in the split completed, I wanted to challenge my analysts by submitting their MVP ballots as if the split ended today. So we're going to throw those up on the screen, see where you guys threw your votes. Sneezing over there?
A little sneeze,
a little sneeze, man.
Come on, Mark.
All right, first
here
up,
we go.
We got Mark Z's midseason MVP candidates. Someday, Doublelift, and Mickey. Are these in order here? From
yeah,
top
this
to
is
bottom?
how I would have submitted them. Someday, I think, is second in kills on the top place team, has had a fantastic split, winning a lot of lanes, as well as having some big standout games for me.
All right, next up, Kobe's pick, Someday, Doublelift, but Dardoch slotting into that third position.
I think Dardoch has looked so good this split. Super aggressive jungler. Yes, he has chased a bit too deep in some of the games, and then has cost them, but he has hard carried a lot of the Echo Fox.
Oh, we got Meteosis here,
and
too.
we have Meteosis as well. So Someday occupying the top slot for all three of you. Sneaky coming in second. We're going to talk about that one in a moment. I know you have thoughts and justification.
I know he's your boy, dude, but come on.
And then contracts. So, but first, let's break. We got some time to talk about each of these players. So I actually want to go back to Someday. You, of course, threw out the stats that he is, second most kills on the, top-ranked team at the moment. But what is it about this player that makes him so impactful at the moment?
One thing that I find really, really good about Someday, obviously I've played with him for one, so I know he's a great player. But another one is that he's not necessarily a player that just soaks all of the resources. And for me, a big part of what I view as a good player is players who can create advantages, who can be in, disadvantageous situations and still come out ahead. And he creates a lot of pressure for his team. He does a lot with a little, and just overall very solid player.
I mean, yesterday being the focus of a lot of attention, but still coming out at 7-1-5 after all of that focused attention to the top lane. Next up, Doublelift. This was a guy who was sitting in second position for both Kobe and Mark.
And I know he's probably taken a little bit of a nosedive in the last two games, but that doesn't change how much work he was doing early on the split. He's obviously the primary carry threat on the team that finished first last split and was at the top of the standings for the majority of the first half. So you got to give the credit where it's due.
And especially like Meteos was talking about, even in the games where they were losing and the team overall was behind, Doublelift was still performing well. And he's in a position where marksmen are hard to pull off when your team is behind, right? Because you have to worry about so many threats from the enemy team diving you. So I think he's done a really good job with that.
Doublelift definitely was a player that was close for me to being one of the MVP candidates, but I do have to say that I don't think he's adapted that well to the bot lane changes. He's looked fairly shaky on those mages, and I think that Liquid could just go back to playing 80 carries and they do well, but I guess that's kind of like a weakness that I saw in
docking him a few points there. Next up, Dardoch, another one of the Echo Fox players. He's been performing well. Kobe, talk about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, as I talked about, this guy has had some of the highest highs of any jungler in the entire split, right? He has also, as we said, the double-edged sword strikes a few times, but I think that he's done a good job growing as a player over the years here, and has improved in a lot of the areas where people were critical of.
And this was one for me that was kind of my snub of like who I was debating on who was going to be my third pick. I didn't end up going with him, but absolutely deserves the praise that he's been getting this year.
Right. Instead, you went with Mickey. So why is it that you're looking at that Golden Guardians mid lane?
This was definitely a bit of a narrative push, but you take the 10th place team and you bring them all the way up to be tied with second currently. Like, that's a huge turnaround. He's the only roster change that's happened. I know everyone else is playing better. There's a lot going on here, and it's not just all Mickey.
Did you flip a coin to decide on Mickey?
Yeah, I was between Mickey and Dardoch. Came up heads.
If it comes up heads, yeah, I'm going to go with him.
But while we talk about all these other players like Huni, like Dardoch, people who can be over-aggressive and get punished sometimes, he kind of falls into that role as well and is a huge factor for his team in their wins.
Yeah, some of the losses, though, like the early games
Those
of
Lulu
this
games
split,
were yikes.
But here's my question.
as long as you recognize
How can
that.
you guys be picking people like Mickey and Dardoch over Sneaky?
I would love to hear this.
Okay, well, listen. Okay, so
wait. Our ears are primed and ready, my
Cloud9
friend.
has been a top team pretty much since it came into the league, and Sneaky's been there the entire time. He's a phenomenal player, very good teammate, like solid, like selfless, and you saw what happened when they took him out. Cloud9 started 1-5. He came back into the roster, a struggling roster that's been shifted so many times, and immediately found success, even on some of these new picks like Swain. So I think it's hard not to vote for Sneaky.
I think you're right that his absence proved his value, but he didn't actually contribute. Like he was still 1-5 and he wasn't there for that.
I'm completely unbiased. You got to trust.
Okay, you're right. I'm changing my vote.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because we were isolating those votes to the first 9 games of the split. There are still 9 more games to be played, so I'm sure that those votes would change as the split continues. We'll see which of those players can make their case for MVP as the split continues. Maybe the award will go to one of the pros in this week's Mic Check, which features FlyQuest versus Team Liquid.
Let me
Ooh!
this real close.
Jeez. The second that hot tea hit my stomach, something exploded.
1 second. My last cube.
Guys, I'm gonna need you to get into lobby, alright?
Yep, I'm going.
Thank you.
You know what's actually gonna happen? We're just gonna get Zoe first pick. That's actually what's gonna happen here. Serious.
After that Mickey game, they're gonna ban Zoe.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yo, they're scared. They're scared, Ole. Walk up, walk up. Just walk up a little bit.
He's walking at me.
Wow. Okay, never mind. They're not scared. Holy,
I
my
need
bad.
to flash.
What's your Q?
Oh, I died. Hey, they're coming.
No, he did. I think. I'm gonna hit this.
Oh, shit. Keep flash.
All right, Zoe's over the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah,
Zoe's
I
over
hit.
the wall.
Yeah, he flashed down.
You guys good?
Yeah, we're good.
I can't get.
Fine.
Yo, Darius here. Yeah, I'll ult you. You got it.
Okay, go.
Nice.
Okay, can you
No,
please?
Kindle.
Keep going. Go flash.
Yeah, nice, guys.
Nice.
Good job, guys. He's 2
Yeah,
Peter.
you have to actually combo in.
Okay.
You can't just stay back the whole time. Yo, can you combo?
I'm going.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Just back.
I kill this guy. Oh, molting. He's dead. Okay. Nice, guys. Yo, Kindred is top side, okay? Kindred is top side. Back.
He only get mid.
Wow! Team coming back.
Mark.
Yo, Yasuo's slowly coming bot side,
I'm coming
okay?
too. I'm following.
We got him. We're running.
Run.
Nice,
I follow.
guys.
I follow. It's okay.
It's okay. Don't worry, guys. Player on me.
Yeah. Hey, cross.
Yeah, watch.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Hey,
you can
go,
kill, you can kill.
I can kill. Yeah, you can kill.
Guys, we have to like decide ASAP. Like we can't just. Okay.
Yeah, we need to do something. Look at this guy.
I'm rotating.
Look, Jason. Pass it to me. Okay, I can't go. Yo, look.
I'm rotating.
It's okay.
I'm tanking. I don't want to.
No, back.
I'm rotating TP. It's okay. I'm
It's
rotating.
okay. Just give Lucas. Don't overcommit. Okay, you're good. Back.
I don't want to tank. I think Pai. Bye.
Oh, we can. Can do no ult, I think. I have ult 2, ult 1.
Okay, go for it. Watch Yasuo. He's behind me.
That guy's one shot. We can walk up.
Hey, big one
Look,
side.
I'll slow. Ali. We can fight. Slow. Okay, back. I'm peeling Jason. Nice. Go, everybody. Nice. Let's go. See, it was great. They gave us Zoe.
Honestly, we both had double lift on there, Mark. But after hearing him tell Ole to move up 2 times in lane, both times gets killed. I mean, that's why the criticism sometimes from the outside for the team's performances, you have to know what's going on, in the communication within the team, because it's not all Ole's fault.
Right. I think a lot of the times when you see a player make a mistake, that's just like, why would you do that? You're a professional player.
Yeah.
It's influenced a lot by like what's going on within their team. So that's big reason why, Doublelift didn't make my top 3, because I think he's just not as proficient on Vladimir because he hasn't played it enough.
I mean, that was a 19-1 kill game, absolutely decimated by FlyQuest. We got to move on, and while Jap might be MIA, that doesn't mean we can't have fun with some NALCS trivia in this edition of Kobe Stats.
All right, my time now. Let's get
Do we dance?
their new song. Kobe.
What is that?
Kobe.
No,
Stats.
it's called Kobe Facts. Well, they didn't change the head. I really hoped that they were going to
Yeah,
change the
come
head.
on, blow
glad they
Kobe's
didn't.
face. At least hit him with the single.
I did change the questions, though.
All right, let's hear it. Question 1.
Question number 1. Since we have Meteos on the desk, this had to be a KDA question.
Okay.
Question number 1. The jungler with the highest KDA in the North American LCS right now.
Oh, right now.
Right now.
All time, though.
12.7 Meteos.
Wait.
Up to right now.
Okay. I was like, in the summer splitter all time.
Yeah, so
I'm going to go with this man on the desk right here.
Well, we had 12.7, but then I don't know what your other splits were. Was there anyone who had like a one and done, like great split, like Rush?
Because why I say right now is it counts his 12-1 KDA, right? But it doesn't freeze for that season.
Right, like it's his whole career.
I'm going with Meteos.
Okay.
I'm gonna
I
go
have
someone
faith
with
in
a
my man.
shorter career. I'm gonna say Rush, maybe.
I don't know, but
So-
Have
I'm
some
gonna vote
faith!
myself.
Yeah, I believe you.
So when we were doing this, I thought that they were going to put in the other possibilities.
It is Meteos.
There were more possibilities. Guess who number 2 is? Right behind Meteos. It's Santorin. The other
FlyQuest jungler.
FlyQuest has the 2 highest KDA junglers.
We got best junglers.
I love it. I love it. All right, nicely done. These are much better than Jet stats. All right, Kobe,
Question number 2. This jungler in 2016, try and remember back, failed his master promos 11 times in a row.
I know. I know who it is.
11 times in a row.
I know who it is, but I'm going to wait.
This can't be me also.
I mean, hopefully you
You're
would
like,
remember.
you're like thinking, wait a second.
Or actually, maybe you would have
Master
shoved that
promos
out of
are
your
rigged.
memory.
I'm gonna say master promos are rigged.
Yep.
But
I know who
I'm
it is.
gonna not vote myself. Anyone?
I'm gonna vote Medios, dude. I assume these are all Medios stats.
You're gonna vote Medios.
Yeah.
Who do you want?
I'm gonna vote not Medios.
No, but not Medios is
You
a
can't
safe.
take the
is a safe
field.
vote.
You
I'm gonna go with the man on my far left, Kobe himself.
Is Kobe?
I'm going to accept both those answers. Not Medios and Kobe.
He
I
did,
was right.
and
Those
he
are
did
both
actually
correct.
get
You
it, but
say
he
what it's
he failed his master's promos 11 times. This was a very tenuous time in the office. You didn't want to approach Kobe in the office during this time because the world was falling apart as he couldn't reach masters.
Probably the most tilted I've ever been in my entire life.
I
Are you
believe
playing
it,
enough
man.
Shaco?
I was not playing enough Shaco. It was
you go.
all Vi at the time.
Oh,
All right,
big
question
mistake.
number 3, Kobe. What do you got for us?
Our final question here, I decided to switch it up because you may have discovered a pattern in Kobe's stats.
This is very jungle heavy.
This is going to be different here. Okay, new look here. This animal throws up every time that they eat solid food.
Is this gonna tie into the game at all?
Is it a snake?
Like, is this like another champion that we should be
No,
aware
Mark.
of? No?
Jellyfish
This is a
just
test
fly.
of knowledge.
Nothing about
B, jellyfish. C,
Kobe
fly.
wants us to
Or
be
D,
cultured, worldly
West
individuals.
African fruit bat.
Unlike Jat, who wants us to be narrow-minded, focused, stat end.
I need an answer.
Fruit bat.
They're
Fruit bat.
pressing me
Sounds
here.
good.
This is unfair.
Flies
I don't
like
know anything
Cooper
outside
throw
of
up
League.
every time they land on
I thought
something,
snakes
right?
ate it and it just sat.
gonna
Jellyfish
say
don't
fly.
eat solid foods. They just float around. So it's either
I don't
snake
think
or
a
fruit
jellyfish
bat.
could
I'm going to
throw
go
up.
fruit bat.
Medios going C. You guys both going
I'm going to
D?
go fruit
Yeah.
bat. Yeah.
Fruit bat. Medios is correct again. 2 for 3.
Two
here
for three.
Medios.
2 for 3.
3 for 3. 'cause you said
Oh,
you got the
4
field.
3.
Medios
All right,
100%
guys.
on Kobe stats.
I guess I'm only
Flies,
good at
they're
good.
gross.
You're the
gonna
winner.
be lower third. We are running out of time here, so 2 minutes left on the clock. I want to get predictions for the entire day from all 3 of you. Boom! There they are. Oh, Jat, again, sliding in his predictions,
Always
even
finds
though
his way
he's
in.
not here. He's got to find
Whoa.
Okay.
You and Medios
Nobody
are
else
buddies.
predicts 100 Thieves
We got
to
the
win.
FlyQuest Faith here in Game 2. Explain yourselves, Mark and Medios.
Blue side, please,
side.
for the love of God, just ban the funnel. You saw it work.
I have to say FlyQuest, you know, I've worked with both teams, and I think FlyQuest might look a little better now. I do think funnel is 100 Thieves' best strategy. If FlyQuest is able to deny that, I think they'll have a good shot.
So the blue side advantage there. The only other one I'm looking at is TSM Clutch Gaming, where we're split across the board. What are we thinking? What is our reasoning there, Kobe?
A lot of people are really down on TSM right now, but I think that's because they came in with super high expectations, and they've been disappointed compared to where they're used to seeing TSM at. And I don't think that they're going to make as big of a mistakes as we've seen earlier in the split.
So then what's
in
the
this
case
game.
for Clutch? Oh,
Well,
you had TSM too,
yeah.
sorry.
Couple things. First of all, I think Clutch has proven to be super effective against TSM. You know, counter Pokemon types. And
Classic.
Clutch is blue side. It's hard to vote against blue side.
It's that blue side advantage. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to kick it out to the battle arena to get us into Game 1.
Thank you very much, Dash. In case y'all forgot, I'm Captain Flowers. This is Zyrene. We are going to be bringing you the first games here today. And this first one of OpTic versus Cloud9 should be a lot of fun. And normally, this is one of those types of games when you have the battle at the bottom of the standings, like what we mentioned earlier when we talked with the desk. You're thinking about, okay, maybe they can come back, try to make some sort of a shot for the bottom end of playoffs, but with there being so much parity in the current state of this league, every single win could catapult you not just to the bottom of playoffs, but very close.
Absolutely. Both teams sitting at 3 and 6. It's the closest that we've ever had the league be in the history of the NALCS at the halfway point. They're 2 games back from being tied for second with that big cluster of teams. And then 100 Thieves. Right now, they just have the inverse scoreline of 6 and 3. Only 3 games ahead, and we have 9 more to play.
Right, we're not sitting in a situation like over in Europe where you have the top team having 9 wins and the bottom team having no wins.
Yeah, use Europe as an example.
Yeah, we're gonna use them as an example of not such an incredible level of competition. Right now, we're going to see what the competition looks like between these two squads as we get into the bans. Swain and Talia taken off the table by OpTic Gaming. Cloud9 getting rid of the Nocturne. No surprise there. Kindred also banned out.
Aatrox, not banned by Cloud9, is one of the gimme bans, one of the free bans that you could throw
one
out
of
there.
those two that's normally automatic.
So there is potential for maybe a trade here if they want to leave the Aatrox up and say, Dokla, we don't care about your Aatrox. I wonder. Because that would be actually a very bold thing to do, because there's a lot of mentality of, like, if we can actually secure a lot of power picks around it, but apparently not. Zoe still on the table. I would assume that's a very good pickup here. Xayah Rakan is another one that you can go to.
Trundle banned away as the final ban in this first phase from OpTic Gaming, so they want to make sure that that quintessential pick will not be essential this time around. They're hovering the Zed. I highly doubt there's a reason to get excited right now, Twitch chat. Switch instead over towards the Mundo, blocking that one in for the top side very quickly.
Wow, that's so interesting. They would lock in Mundo that early on against Licorice, who can play the Darius, can play these carry champions. Now it allows Cloud9 to lock in things like Xayah Rakan, Fiddlesticks Heimerdinger, if you know Sneaky is proficient on the Heimerdinger. You can even just lock in the Zoe for yourself for Jensen, but there are some counters to it. So the Zoe may potentially be like a half bait, because I know Aurelia is incredibly good into that champion. There's also some great gap closer champions like LeBlanc that also function well into it. And so Cloud9 will probably draft around that and pick up whatever they feel is the most powerful right now.
They have picked up the Sejuani, making sure they've got some front line to deal with the front line that OpTic have established themselves with their first pick.
And I really like this for Blabber. It's going to give him control of a lot of long-range engage, and they were talking about how aggressive he is, and it's a good suit for the team. And I remember watching him in Academy, and he had actually done an AP Runic Echo start Sejuani that I actually talked to him about as a Sejuani main myself. And he said it was okay. He swapped to Cinderhulk later, but he still really does like the Sejuani, and he was one of the people who, when she got the changes, was bringing her out again and teaching other people that this is still a good champion.
Well, you talk about long-range engage potential. Why not complement that with some more of the same? Rakan also picked up in his first rotation for Cloud9, while OpTic Gaming says, yeah, you got some guys that can start some fights, so why don't we just unbench the Kench, make it so whoever you initiate on is going to be much more safe.
And we're still waiting on the marksman to be picked up here, or potentially those power pick mid laners. Now OpTic Gaming are in a position where I think they would want to counter pick mid, but you can't wait too long, so you'll probably, pick up something like the Varus. The Tahm Kench complements it with the mobility, but then Cloud9 here, Zoe or Xayah, but question is, do they want to separate the lovers duo? Is there more effective marksman that can actually be played alongside it?
The Zoe is so incredibly strong right now, too. We've seen amazing performances out of multiple people on this champion. A couple other hovers coming out from Cloud9 as they think about this one a little bit longer, but they do go back to the thing they were hovering the most, the Zoe locked in there for Jensen as we head into the second part of bans.
Okay, and now OpTic Gaming, they can potentially start banning the top lane counters to Dr. Mundo, ban out the Darius, and make sure that you don't have this really bad lane in the top lane. But also they need to kind of cover the marksman too, just a tiny bit. We'll see what Cloud9 go for. Power of Evil's Orianna. It's not exactly like a counter to Zoe, but it's more a Power of Evil ban.
But it's like, we respect this guy enough on this champion. This has to be dealt with. Power of Evil, too, just being one of the guys that even last split was stepping up so much for OpTic. Not changing that this split either. This is the guy you've got to keep your eye on. And even going up against a guy with a superstar reputation like Jensen, you've got to respect your lane opponent.
Exactly. One team has a PoE, the other has a Jensen. And, I like the Graves ban because you want to make sure that they actually have less physical damage across the board because they have a Mundo and then they have a Varus. So you want to have kind of go, okay, they don't get to play like an AP mid laner and then have like an AD jungler. But I wonder what will happen here for PoE. I'm really curious as to what he'll play because Aurelia is a good champion into Zoe. Talon is also still on the board with the Smite mid. So I'm very curious to see it.
I want to point out that you were 100% correct with OpTic's second round ban strategy. They did go for getting rid of both the Darius and the Gnar, two of the biggest counter picks into Dr. Mundo that we regularly see. They want to set up Dokla to do well against Licorice, who's been having fantastic performances for himself. Cloud9 now have the opportunity to reunite those lovers. Xayah did manage to get herself past that second ban phase, and it looks like they will lock that one in for Sneak.
So a traditional marksman for him. And he's actually been doing okay on those types of champions. His Swain and his Morgana were both wins recently. And he played the Xayah, but not to great effect against CLG. And so back on the Xayah here, we'll see, because he's paired up with the Rakan, which does make a big difference in terms of the engages and the amount of pressure that you can have. So Cloud9 so far, their composition, a lot of engage and a decent amount of poke in terms of just having the Zoe. So Cloud9, their issue has been ending games. Having a lot of engage will remedy that issue.
Cloud9 have also left their last pick to Licorice, who has been, like I said, having those big standout performances lately. Even though he's known what he will be playing against in lane since the very beginning of this draft, they will see the entirety of the OpTic Gaming composition before making the choice as to what they want to put him on this time around.
Talon.
And that OpTic Gaming composition will include Zac and Talon in the mid lane for Power of Evil.
And I was talking about it. I wonder if it's going to be the Irelia, if it's going to be the Talon here. Both very good into the Zoe. And I love this, but the issue here is OpTic Gaming are very magic damage, are very physical damage heavy. The magic damage will come from Arrow in later parts of the game with the percent HP, and a little bit from the Mundo and the Zac. It's not really kind of bursty mage damage. It's more these tanks do have some damage that's magic damage, and so the issue here is the Sejuani may get a little bit too tanky if Power of Evil doesn't get too far ahead of the curve. If he ends up having this really good talent performance in this game, he can start running away with it, but we talked about it, him versus Licorice, that's really what we're watching here today.
And Licorice will be on the Kled this game, a champion that can completely run away with the game if he gets himself ahead. A champion that's got a lot of playmaking potential, both in his own 1v1s, as well as with the flanks coming through with the ult.
And it's more engaged for the roster of Cloud9. It wins the lane, it has a lot of engage for the team fighting, and so Cloud9, if they get a lead, they can start just pushing it over and over again, fishing for engages with the Sejuani, the Bubble, with the Rakan. There's so much here for them to start fights. And on OpTic's side, they have the Tahm Kench to disengage and a little bit of this kind of pick, but a lot of that seems like it'll be roaming around with the Zac, roaming around with the Tahm Kench ultimate, as well as the Talon. Play around the mid lane. And remember, Zabutin said it, it's very hard to shut down the mid lane. And if you try to shut down PoE and you fail, game's gonna go boom.
Especially when he's on something like the Talon, the amount of plays this champion can make, and he's so damn hard to catch too. Once he's leveled up the E, once he has the ability to jump over the terrain, ganks become incredibly difficult. He'll constantly be farming up Raptor camps as well to further supplement the income. It's kind of like the self-funnel, sorry jungler, I need these chickens. My least favorite advent in the history of League of Legends ever. But we're making our way on to Summoner's Rift for the first time today, and for the first time in the second round robin of Summer Split 2018 to see what these teams can bring here. Cloud9 versus OpTic Gaming, tied in the standings. Every win's gonna mean so much.
And in particular for these two teams, bottom of the standings, whoever loses will be in sole possession of the last place in the league. It'll be in 10th. And the other thing that I want to add here is the last time they played each other, Cloud9 beat OpTic. So OpTic wouldn't have the head-to-head versus Cloud9. It would mean they'd have to climb even higher up the standings to get a playoff spot and have to pass Cloud9. And remember, both these teams have momentum right now. They are both coming off of wins yesterday, where Cloud9 was able to take down Team Liquid in a pretty convincing manner, and OpTic were able to take down TSM. And if either of these teams win here, it'll be their first 2-0 week this split. But also, I looked it up, in OpTic, they haven't had a 2-0 week in the entire existence of their organization in the NALCS.
That would be quite a statement to make then, especially beating somebody like Cloud9, who, although have found their fair share of troubles this split, are one of those old guard names. It's one of those legacy teams. Like Meteos was talking about on the desk, Cloud9 showed up in the NALCS, and ever since then, they've always been a force to be reckoned with. Recent history has been the first time we've really seen this team struggle this way.
I mean, they've always made it to Worlds, right? They've been a team that's been dependable for their fans, and that's why a lot of fans were angry when they kept swapping people around and trying to make something happen with the roster. Right now, kept the same one for 2 days in a row, though. Good sign.
Talking about that roster, though, I want to make a comment about that, back towards what we were talking about with Licorice kind of being this hero of the day for Cloud9. This is the only man who, as of yet, has not found himself on Mr. Jack's Wild Ride. The only person who has not played in both the main LCS stage and Academy so far. I guess you could say the same thing, considering the fact that his counterpart in Academy would also be able to mention that. but everyone else on Cloud9's roster right now on stage has had Academy time so far this split. Licorice has not, and his performance has showcased it.
Exactly. There's a reason why he hasn't been on, Mr. Jack's Wild Ride. It's been the fact that he's had such great performances across the board. There's only really one Renekton game back in week 3 where he did have a negative KDA, but everything else looks absolutely great. There was a 12-kill Aurelia game where he was the only one. Everyone else on the team had 1 kill and he had to carry. There was a lot going for Licorice in terms of his performances, so can't really knock anything against him or have any marks against him this split. And that's why he stayed in the whole time, because he has been dependable.
Why he stayed in the whole time, and that's why we'll be keeping eyes on him throughout this match. Currently sitting on a nice CS lead over that Dr. Mundo, which is what you would expect considering he and Mundo are in even ground so far, so he has control over this matchup. Mundo just has to be very respectful of exactly what Licorice can do here. Acadian will make his way pathing towards the top lane.
Yep.
Power of Evil wants to collapse on this 3 versus 1.
We talked about who's going to be the carry here. Licorice is one of the people they have to watch out for.
Well, that was much to do about nothing. There was not really much of a chance to make that happen, and
oh wait, he's gonna
evade.
thanks for the far. Tax. I love that. PoE's getting used to America. Taxes are higher here.
He'll make his way back to the mid lane as Jensen has a slight lead in terms of EXP, but that'll be quickly equalized. Cloud9, though, goes for an incredibly early Ocean Drake. 3-4 minutes. They're saying, hey, Acadian's topside. That means he's got no ability to contest this at all, and they pick up a 3.
And that's one of those situations where, as a jungler, and I'm sure this will resonate with Meteos as well, showing yourself, actually, you lose a lot of your presence on the map, a lot of your power, because they know exactly where you are. You tilted your hand, and they can make a play with full information. And so Arrow and Big both have to play safe. They seed the lane and get pushed in, and then it's an easy Drake take there. It wasn't just Acadian top. PoE showed himself top as well. So they were like, hey, okay, worst case scenario, it's a 1v4.
And that's not a Mountain or a Cloud or one of those Drakes that you're not going to see a lot of immediate impact from. Early Ocean Drake is one of the best things you can pick up in terms of neutral objective power when you're still looking at this much of the laning phase left ahead of you. The extra regeneration and the staying power could mean a lot.
Yeah, especially when you have something like the Zyrakan in the bottom lane that wants to bully and wants to push them out. And you can even see right now the CS is actually swung in favor of Arrow on the Varus, just making sure that he can shove the wave, get to a good point where they can potentially recall, because you do, in this composition, I think he's going to go more for the AP build, as opposed to, we've seen a lot of the lethal tempo into Blade the Ruined King builds, but I feel like this composition will lack magic damage, and you really want the AP behind your W, behind your Blighted Quiver.
Nashor's Tooth, Rabadon's Death Cap, the general, holy cow, where did that burst damage come from type of Varus. Top side for Blabber now, clearing out some wards, control ward placed down, but not really any chance to go for a kind of play onto Doku just yet. Doesn't feel like forcing anything. Instead just heads back to the farm as Licorice controls the tempo. Oh, Power of Evil, though, gets himself exhausted by one of those 3 summoner spell pickups that Jensen found on the ground. Jensen's actual summoner spell is the Ignite this time around, so we'll see if he ends up needing to use that anytime soon. But PoE will get himself back to this.
Yeah, Dax gets himself the Tiamat. A big thing, though, is he was actually about to hit 6. So if Jensen didn't have an exhaust and didn't have a way to actually chunk him, PoE potentially would have gone all in at that level 6 and would have hit it before Jensen because he had some camps under his belt. So I actually think that was perfect from Jensen to make that type of play there and be aggressive in that moment.
Yeah, you've always got to keep that in mind. When you're Zoe against somebody like the Talon, or like you were mentioning earlier in Champions, like an Irelia, anything that can jump on you because you don't have a true escape mechanism, you've got a bubble, and you've got a dash that returns you to where you started.
Yep.
If those champions can manage to dodge the bubble, you're pretty much dead to rights.
Ooh, actually, something big right now is that PoE, he does have shove advantage, but the bottom lane hasn't back. It's actually an item advantage for Arrow and Big over Sneaky and Zazel. Sure, Sneaky does have a teleport, but there's an item up here. It's the Berserker's Greaves, and PoE's going to flank here. It's going to be a 3-on-3.
Cloud9 trying to run over, make this happen. We'll see if Power of Evil is able to find the damage into the back line as Arrow grabbing the first blood and make that one a double kill. That's Power of Evil showing up where he needs to be.
Can't get him.
Blabber now tries to chase down Big, but the double kill does range through for Arrow with the extra kill for Power of Evil. That's 3-for-0 OpTic game.
And that's a situation where you have to look at what happened macro-wise. how did Arrow get it back without having to use TP? And he got back to lane before Sneaky was able to even recall or get a good recall, sitting on BF Sword Gold, picks it up, picks up Boots, whereas that last fight, Arrow had a gigantic lead. Being able to have Zerker's Greaves, the movement speed to catch the person, keep autoing them to dodge their abilities is absolutely massive. And you'll see it here. Acadian, he's coming in on the side. PoE is flanking, but then Arrow able to just kite this out, deal damage to whoever's in front of him, and then PoE, I love the way he navigated that. He went down into the Drake pit, over the side of it, so he wasn't in vision of the Scuttle Crab at the time, and Acadian was also flanking at the same time. That is huge for OpTic Gaming.
Very well done by them. 2-0-1 now on Arrow, 1-0-1 on Power of Evil. These guys who need to do the damage are getting it done so far this game. You can see on the side of your screen, this is actually Jensen's first game as Zoe in the North American LCS. As bottom side, Varus also finds its way down onto Sneaky. Just a little bit of 2 versus 2 trading between these squads. Nothing's going to come of it just yet. Sneaky still has the ultimate ready to go there on the Xayah, Power of Evil. Clearing out his own blue buff with the help of Acadian. You can see Licorice wanting to come down, potentially think about contesting that one, but realizes too many bodies around from OpTic, not a good idea.
Yep, PoE warding over the wall. Gonna get hit by a bubble here. He'll take a bit of damage. Wait,
by a bit, you mean some Zoe damage, baby. Jensen, first Zoe game in the LCS, first Zoe kill in the LCS.
The combo there, Blabber's like, I might as well just throw the bowl. I hit level 6 right before. Throws it out, and they get that kill cleanly onto PoE, and that means the blue buff is instantly Jensen's too.
Thanks for the leash. Yeah. Super leash, technically. Grab the blue buff, give it over to Zoe, and now Jensen is feeling good there in the mid lane. Look at that CS as well, 86-64. That's quite an economic advantage he's sporting.
He's already past the 10 per minute mark at the very early on in the game. So by 10 minutes, I would assume he will have that 100, considering there'll be 2 more waves before that point. And he'll be able to catch them pretty easily. So yeah, he'll be right on pace. That's actually so good for Jensen right now. And think back to Cloud9 about a year ago, a little over a year ago, where the team, when they weren't performing, they could always lean on Jensen. The Orianna performances, the consistency that he would bring out, just control warding for him and setting him up in the mid lane. And I know that Jensen duoed a whole bunch in solo queue with Blabber back when he wasn't playing on the roster a few weeks ago, and it was Golden Glue who was playing mid lane. So Jensen has some really good synergy with Blabber that's been established, and I know that they actually really like each other, and Blabber said that he was learning a lot from Jensen.
Well, it was definitely showcased in the communication, the coordination that they had to pull the trigger there in the mid lane, make that play happen onto Power of Evil. And one thing I'm also looking at this game, if Jensen gets going, if he gets rolling on this Zoe, look at the itemization you're seeing from Dokla. He's laning against a Kled. He needs armor on this Mundo to not just get eviscerated in the 1 versus 1. Problem is, when you're stacking armor to deal with a little Yordle and a spear and a big old lizard, you can't deal with magical Bubble Girl. There's going to be some problems.
I love the way you put things sometimes. It's just, There's
going to be some problems, Zyrene, on this rift. As Licorice camps out in the shrubbery on the top side, trying to see if maybe he can get Dokla to come out here. It doesn't look like Dokla's going to fall for that.
And I think a bottom lane roam is in the works right now. PoE sees the Scuttle Crab. He's going to go over the wall. Same with Acadian. They're going to 4-man dive bottom. They know there's no flash on Sneaky. They know there's no flash on Zeyzal. They have ultimates. They'll have to outplay here, but I assume this is a dive.
Acadian comes in, doesn't find the stretching strike. Zeyzal looking to turn things around. It's going to be Acadian targeted first. Power of Evil still looking to find the burst down onto either one. Zeyzal drops first. There goes Sneaky second. That's a double kill for the OpTic Gaming mid laner, and they pull it off.
Might as well bring the whole family. Everybody's here from OpTic. That's 5 people strong. So you can see C9 are saying, all right, we'll give up first turret, but they're going to try to push the top and the mid lane turret in.
Dokla will be left to take this turret alone, see if he can beat that one down in time. He will to get the turret first blood bonus. Licorice will finish off the top side tier 1, but OpTic commit 2 teleports to the mid lane. They're not willing to give over that 2-for-1 overall trade.
Here goes PoE.
PoE
just here for cleanup duty.
All right. You got my turret, sure. Throws the rake out onto the minion line. Blabber's hanging around here just in case Power of Evil got cheeky, but considering he's got no ultimate available, I see no reason why you would try to force the 1v1.
Yeah, instead, they moved the duo lane to the mid lane, more for protection of the turret, because they weren't able to at least get both of them safely. But right here, this was such a good dive. Acadian goes in, even though he doesn't hit the E or the Q, he gets the ultimate out of Sneaky, ultimate out of Zeyzal. Sneaky's already taking so much damage from the top and the bottom of this fight, and then I guess Dokla came in, little gratuitous, I would say.
Just maybe a little bit.
Blew the ultimate and ran for. That's the illusion of helping. Like, that's where you go and you show up and you're like, nobody can criticize me that I didn't do anything.
You were there for
I was there.
support. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when people are like, just
The
started.
team had the confidence to do what they did because of me. I was a critical instrument in this success. We've been there before as Blabber finds himself in the Drake pit yet again, this time with help from Licorice. Cloud9 continuing to try to exercise this neutral objective control, and they'll get that one once more for contest.
And we see a lot of teams actually just try to not trade sides of the map, but just kind of defend objectives. Right here, OpTic and Cloud9 are having a gentleman's agreement. They're just saying, yes, let's accelerate this game, sir. You get that turret, I'll get this turret. There's more gold in flux right now. Exactly. It's exactly what they're doing, because they're just trading sides of the map. Oh, Dokla actually flashes away, and
Necessary.
yeah. And right now, the Rift Herald will go over to OpTic. Question is, do they actually go into the jungle and get things like the red buff here? Acadian, it would be really good for him to do so, and he knows that. He's just going to go in.
Power of Evil has been sitting up here stabbing this turret with a knife for the past 30 seconds.
Chip away.
Eventually, he's going to take it down. He does secure that one. Ties those turrets back up to 2.
You try killing a stone structure with a knife, Flower.
That doesn't sound like a good idea at all. I think, let's not say we did.
It'll take you a long time. Anyway.
Arrow will keep farming up the mid lane. 127 farm on this Varus. I do want to point out he is going for the Blade of the Ruined King, though, not the AP build.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. So it means that their magic damage will be coming from the Mundo, as well as the Zac. There is, of course, magic damage on the Varus, but he's not going towards the AP itemization to kind of boost those ratios to make it so that he has a even more % HP magic damage, which is interesting because it means Blabber can really itemize just armor and be okay. But I'm looking at his items, and
they're not.
It's not okay.
Armor. Yes, Irene?
Yeah, I got nothing.
You got
like Merc Treads, that's the thing, is this is typically a pretty easy buy for Ninja Tabi, but the Merc Treads will affect the root from Arrow, some of the % HP damage, and then a little bit of the damage from Mundo, Acadian, and Big. So he's kind of just saying that's more his concern, but in terms of CC, there isn't much that he would actually reduce. The duration of slows would be reduced, and that might be his biggest concern, but Sejuani's immune to slows with her passive up, so an initial cleaver or something like that wouldn't affect her.
While we're talking about items, I do want to point out that big ticket items are coming online now for multiple people. Duskblade on Talon, more burst when you come out of the ultimate. Blade of the Ruined King completed. Over onto Arrow's Varus means he's going to have more kiting potential as well as tank shredding. Blade of the Ruined King into a Cinderhulk Merc Tread Sejuani. She's not going to live too long if she's healthy.
Exactly, and the Blade of the Ruined King first is a great thing to talk about here, because we were talking about the Merc Treads just a second ago. Having more of that MR versus the passive of Varus means he's got % HP, % missing HP from the W active, he's got % max HP from the W passive, and now he has % current HP from the Blade of the Ruined King. 2 of those are magic, 1 of those is physical, so it kind of covers all the bases here and makes it so you can't really just itemize one way, but we'll see.
Both teams are squaring up for a good old-fashioned ARAM right about now as Cloud9 brought 4 men middle to try to pressure on to this barely standing Tier 1 turret, but OpTic is there to answer in time. Sneaky moves up into the top of the river with Zazel, trying to control some of this area with vision, with those control wards, but they will be cleared out as OpTic continue to pressure themselves forward. Remember, the game 5-1 right now, 2,500 gold, a little bit under that, the lead for OpTic, with plenty of that being on Arrow and Power of Evil, these guys who are so critical to finding the damage and finding those kills. And for Cloud9, it's all about protecting Jensen and Sneaky and making sure they don't get popped by that Talon.
Exactly. The Talon is a huge threat here, PoE, and snowballing the game has been something that OpTic have struggled with. When I looked at their stats, they're actually the least bloody team in the entire league. They average only 8 kills a game, and the next highest is 10 kills, and it goes up from there. And in terms of deaths, they average 10 deaths a game. But it still means they're the least active team in terms of kills and deaths in the entire league. So even when these kills start coming through, they don't seem to keep pushing an advantage, right? They kind of sit around, sit on their hands a bit, and allow the other team to get in the game, whereas you really do want to control vision, sweep vision, and just constantly make plays.
Once you have your foot on the pedal, you don't just want to be letting off, saying, okay, we're going to cruise now. Everything's going to be fine. We're just going to keep on drifting along. Yeah. Want to make sure you're pressuring that. Get to the end. Push that objective. Push that goal. And it's one thing that honestly separates the really good teams from the teams that just feel like they're struggling to hit that precipice.
Yeah, and right now what we just saw from OpTic was a mixture of good and bad. They used the Rift Herald mid. They weren't able to support it, and it got killed, and they didn't get the mid turret to kind of advance the game in their favor. Then they all recalled and backed, and so that resets everybody's timer. And you can see all the control wards in their inventory. Right now, they have 7 control wards in their inventory across the board, and that's actually super good. So now they should try to control vision. The next Mountain Drake is coming up, and that's where they should really play around is mid and the Mountain Drake and try to secure that because they haven't gotten a Drake this game. And while they have this advantage of 2,000 gold, this is the time to get the Mountain Drake to help them get the turrets later in the game, which should help them end it.
At the same time, if you're Cloud9, knowing your opponents might be looking for that objective means they're going to be moving around neutral territory, setting up vision, trying to make this happen, which means you could go fishing for some sleepy trouble bubbles and make a move of your own. As they do make that move in the mid lane, they find the tier 1 turret, grab themselves a little bit of extra money, and head down towards the Mountain Drake now themselves.
Yeah, and that's super good for Cloud9. That means they can push out the mid wave twice as far and then have more time elapse between the time that they'll be able to push the wave back to them and they can go to that Drake. But right now, the question is, how much do they defend this mid lane? Cadian's off on the side. The Zac can jump in. He has that maxed elastic slingshot, but nobody wants to walk up to go after this turret. They don't want to put that damage in. And here's the thing, I like that Big has cleanse. Big should be in the front. Big can take a Sejuani ultimate, he can take a bubble, cleanse it away with the single-use summoner spell from Unsealed Spellbook. Boom, easy. And then if somebody else gets hit, he can just eat them. So he should be in the front while they're sieging and making it so that they can kind of react to the engage from Cloud9, because it is very substantial. The only question is he fast enough to kind of devour somebody away from Zaze?
Right. You've got to make sure you're super quick to evade that Rakan combo, but the Earth Drake will go over to the side of OpTic Gaming. That is their first Elemental Drake this game. Give them a little bit of objective control power, but like you mentioned earlier, they're playing the game so slowly, they might not get a chance to use it here for a while, as Acadian wants to make a move into the top side on towards Licorice, along with Power of Evil. Stretching Strikes gets sidestepped, but here comes even more. It's Big and Arrow showing up in time to interrupt the charge, and now Licorice is out of there, gets gobbled up and spit out by Big.
Yeah, he's trying to split push. They just collapse on him with the ultimate from Big. They throw down the exhaust, and then Big is in a really good spot to just, hey, let's just eat this guy, and then boom, they're able to pick it up. But the question is, can they actually get the mid turret off this? They aren't getting an objective off of this. They're actually losing pressure on mid and bottom side.
That's what you have to ask after every kill. It's a kill and what? Kill plus what? Farm. And right now, the answer is nothing. The kill comes in. Yes, you managed to grab that. 300 gold, fantastic. But when nothing else goes along with it, that feels problematic.
And that's why we're at a 2,000 gold advantage here for OpTic still, right? Baron is about to be on the table. They need to set up the vision. You see PoE is already in that area, kind of contesting and getting the Scuttle Crab and pushing up the top side. But we see Cloud9 have already reset, spent their gold. It's a 2-item spike here for Sneaky, which is big because you see Arrow. Arrow's actually 1,100 gold ahead of Sneaky, but he spent gold on a QSS, where Big is somebody who has the cleanse, has the devour, and he's just saying, I need this QSS, and that's delayed him from having a 2-item spike here at the time that Sneaky has a 2-item spike.
Acadian wants to go in onto Jensen there, does force the flash away from him. It is a real flash. As Power of Evil finds his way onto Sneaky, wants to get a little bit more damage down, but Sneaky, with the outplay, will force the enemy assassin to flash out. At the same time, though, OpTic do finally take down that tier 1 in the mid lane and move themselves up towards the top side through the enemy jungle, clearing out some vision, setting down some of their own.
I think you get to consider that a win for Meteos' second MVP, because, oh man, usually a Talon's on the screen and you're just gone. But Sneaky was able to outplay there, throw down the ultimate, get the root, a little bit in turret range too. They both are forced to blow flash in that. And the Talon without the flash, I think it gives him just one of those things where he can't go in and then flash out the way he came. He has to find a different way, and you can kind of control or corral the Talon in areas where he's already been. And where Sneaky will be playing in the back line, so it'll be harder to reach him. And let's see here. Licorice engaging.
The charge is sounded. Big wants to try to stop these guys. He's going to be wombo comboed and absolutely deleted. Acadian looking to bring back the members of Cloud9 further into OpTic territory. They want to get themselves away from this one. Power of Evil going into the middle of multiple people. Knocked them to pieces with the blades. A triple kill for OpTic Gaming, as now they'll look to finish it off, chasing down the remaining 2 members. Sneaky's not sneaky enough, and they're going to be slammed together and taken down.
PoE on the line. He jumps in, nothing personnel, kid. Gets 4 members, 7-1 in 3. PoE is popping off.
Cool guys don't look at explosions. The man jumps in and casually walks away, calling every blade back and rending Cloud9 to pieces. OpTic 11-2 now onto the Baron. They take it for free, and they've got to be feeling good.
And they lost Big at the start of that. Big didn't have Flash. What he had was the single-use summoner spell of Cleanse. When you use that, it's a 10-second lockout on the spell that you had replaced it with. So he cleanses, doesn't have Flash, and so for 10 more seconds, and so he just dies here. He can't use it. Then Power of Evil comes in from the side after the Rakan ultimate is down. After Sneaky doesn't have his from before, and then he jumps in, goes on Blabber, says, all right, I can handle that. Cleaves them in 2, and just hits everybody with the splash damage. That is somebody who is very, very experienced on Talon, who has played this champion multiple times, and knows that you don't have to just overkill people. You want to have your assassin damage spread out.
The smile on his face says it all. And let's check in now, because we were asking before this game started, who's going to carry harder? Who's got the bigger muscles this game between Power of Evil and Licorice? Licorice 0-2-1 on the Kled. Power of Evil 7-1-3 on this talent. 10 out of 11 kill participation. So far, this is the man flexing.
Exactly, and he played that perfectly. Assassin play, you want to see them wait for cooldowns. Hold on, though. Dokla
found himself in a 1 versus 2, but he's doing some Mundo things right now. Stopwatch to keep himself alive. Speed, he takes him down. Dokla in the 1 versus 2's got the outplay, while the rest of OpTic Gaming see their chance to make even more happen. Woo! Blabber will finally finish off the Mundo in the top side, but at what cost? The OpTic push machine keeps on rolling. Acadian channeling that elastic slingshot over the wall just to make sure they can't move up and do anything about it. Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes through, but nobody's taking a nap today. Jensen jumps forward, still trying to hold off these OpTic members who will find inhibitor number 1, 24 minutes in.
That's exactly what you want to see, having the Baron cracking the base, and they were able to have Dokla 1v2 outplay, get a kill onto Licorice.
Licorice, the guy who has been doing so well for Cloud9. Dokla, a member of OpTic who has struggled to find his own opportunities to shine before.
Was subbed out even this split.
The man shone so bright he was golden in that play. Phenomenal job by him.
Yeah, right here, I think Varus gets delivered, throws out the ultimate afterwards, catches Sneaky on the ground as he's coming back, so Sneaky's rooted up the whole time. And Zeyzal's lucky to get out there because he went in, had to double dash to get right back out.
The bottom lane of Cloud9, a combined 0, 7, and 2 this game. Things have been rough going for them. We did talk about the sneaky outplay against Power of Evil in the top lane, but that's been the high point.
It was an outplay to survive. It was an outplay to get them ahead. We're seeing outplay after outplay here.
Technically, surviving is just not falling further behind, which is more ahead than you otherwise would be.
Don't be philosophical with me right
yeah,
now.
we're gonna get some real philosophical stuff in here. We keep saying stuff like that.
But I love the way that PoE has been playing this talent. He's waiting for cooldowns, and when somebody like Zeyzal is using the ultimate, or he sees the Sejuani ultimate fly, that's just one more cooldown he doesn't have to worry about, because the biggest threat to the Assassins is the lockup when they enter the backline, because they are easy to focus down, they are squishy, and so if PoE misplays, he can very quickly drop.
Dokla eating a little bit of damage there as he moves into enemy territory in that jungle, but as the Mundo, you're not too worried about it, especially with Warmog's armor completed onto him now. As long as you're not dead, you're gonna be full health in a matter of no time.
Man, this has been actually a really good game for almost all of OpTic here. We're seeing Arrow having a fantastic performance up against Sneaky, even during the early parts of the game. Arrow has the highest kill participation on the team right now, and it's not even just off the back of his support or anything like that. His support has half the kill participation of him. It's Arrow who's been contributing a lot in these fights, and same with PoE. They've been actually dishing out a lot of damage, and I want to see at the end of this who's actually done the most, because even there's an argument like maybe Dokla or Acadian is actually doing a lot of damage too, but I think it's PoE, potentially Arrow with that high KP.
Dokla losing quite a bit of health there. Again, it doesn't matter too much, and I really want to point out, I love the respect buys from OpTic Gaming. QSS, QSS, QSS. 3 different members have the ability to get out of the Trouble Bubble, out of the Rakan, out of that Sejuani. And the amount of respect they're giving to their opponents, they're saying, let's not give them that win condition of, oh, somebody stepped out of position for just a second, let's capitalize, let's win this, let's get back in the game. I just love seeing that. I have seen too many games in my time, Zyrene, where people say, you know what I need? 7th Bloodthirster. That's going to make this game better. Buying the QSS, making sure that you're ready for those situations where the game may slip away. So critical, so important, and OpTic is thinking about how to close this game out. 9,000 gold ahead now, 2 Mountain Drakes in their possession. It's a scary place to be for C9.
And you see PoE's the one who keeps pushing. So Dokla is grouped up with the team, and he can soak Sleepy Trouble bubbles for days. And there they go. Here's the fight.
On the front line goes that Mundo, absorbing all those skill shots, eaten up by Big just to make sure he doesn't go down too quickly. Licorice going to be tanking these guys here for a while. Acadian kidnapping a couple right back as Arrow goes on a rampage. Blabber taking low. Jensen having to flash out himself.
PoE in the back.
It's Hazel in the front line. PoE into the back line. Looking to cut all these guys down, but Sneaky's able to find some damage. And Cloud9 escapes with 2. They shut down Power of Evil. They get rid of Dokla as well. It's still a trade going in favor of OpTic Gaming. But Sneaky's trying his hardest to hold on here.
And another big thing here is bounties. I love looking at bounties now because what happened is
they're big.
PoE died, 900 gold went over to Blabber. The Sejuani is the one who picked it up. It's not one of the people who needs to have that hyper scaling. The Zoe, even the Zaya. So it's not as good as it could have been, but C9
Sneaky stretching strikes into the inhibitor, gets his head bonked into the wall, and then shot down by Arrow. Remember, even when you get rid of Power of Evil, Arrow is still as relevant as ever, 6, 0, and 10 on this Varus. He'll be the instrument of destruction to take that second inhibitor down and put Cloud9 in an even worse spot.
Yep, Cloud9, there's 45 seconds on the Baron. There's 2 Mountain Drakes to OpTic's name. Right here, Dokla, he does go where he pleases on this Mundo. I know it's a meme and all that aside, but he was just walking straight up. Acadian swaps spots, but then PoE is zoning Sneaky on the side. 4 levels up, and then Licorice gets dropped, but then right here, Jensen feels like he can get something back. Good ultimate there from Blabber to get the finishing touches on Dokla, and then the pass through after the ultimate from Sneaky, keeping himself safe, but then also getting a counter kill onto the Talon.
Total damage dealt to champions in the last team fight, over 5K for Arrow's Varus. Next closest was the 3,800 coming out from Sneaky on the Zaya. Even though he hasn't been able to find any kills for himself so far this game, still putting down some damage, but I don't think that's enough.
And he wasn't even part of the first half of that fight. He was zoned away, and Zazel, ooh, that's an engage tool down for a few seconds. They get to clear out vision and place down some more. You have to worry about this middle inhibitor that's down, and you have to worry about PoE. There's so much for C9 to juggle right now. They have to get poked down from Jensen and have it land on the right people, but look at that.
Acadian wants to go in, looking to find the ultimate onto multiple people, gonna be charmed up, instead still tanking 3. Gargoyle Stoneplate keeps him alive. Blade of the Moon King down onto Licorice, who's forced to dismount away from Scarl. Power of Evil still looking for an opportunity to get himself in there. Sleepy Trouble Bubble finds its way onto him, but the QSS that I mentioned earlier means he just gets to walk away. OpTic now setting themselves up for Baron.
Remember, they have 2 Mountain Drakes and they have 2 Smites, but PoE's off on the side. If somebody face checks him on this top side of the red pit, oh, he's actually in the pit now, so they're gonna go for double Smite.
They do manage to secure that one pretty easily for themselves. Acadian stretching strikes down to Jensen, but nothing to auto-attack to make sure he can slam them together. Means it won't be a pick, but OpTic will gladly walk away, getting that big objective.
Yeah, and Jensen almost killed Acadian there, or at least popped the passive for the first time in the game. Because Acadian, he has been deathless so far. He hasn't even made full use of the Zac kit.
He has a perfect score for a supportive type of champion. 0, 0, and something bigger than 0. That's where I want to see my support. And my supportive style jungle.
I completely agree with you.
Speaking of which, I was going to comment on this when OpTic were in the top side of the jungle, but did you notice when they were having that stare down with their opponents, when Cloud9 and OpTic were clearing out vision back and forth, my boy PoE was hitting the crud camp, making sure he was maxing out that farm. I resonate with that on a spiritual level, Zyrene. Sometimes you just got to make sure all that farm is going into your pockets right where you need it.
I mean, staying ahead of the curve as an assassin is pivotal, and he's level 18. Jensen's level 15. He's 3 levels up on Sneaky, all that. He's the first to hit 18 in the entire game, and that's been one of the reasons that this Talon mid lane has been so oppressive when it's been played. PoE, Mickey have both played it, and they are always ahead of the curve. And assassins, just think of the champions that really one-shot marksman, and it's that whole like marksman can't survive in an assassin meta type thing. That's really what you think of, where they just get blown up. Now it's so much easier to do with all the levels.
Acadian is the target now for Cloud9. They know he has no passive. They'll look to burn him down. The passive actually does come back out. Apparently, Licorice now finds himself in some trouble. Sneaky grabbing the kill onto Acadian. Big having to pop the thick skin. It's Jensen who will have to come right back into the fight. Sneaky's able to find a double kill. Arrow having to kite himself backwards away. The power of evil's into the back lines. He calls back the blades. He finds himself a kill. Now he has to kite himself away. It's Dokla and Arrow versus Sneaky and Blabber. But Sneaky's got no way out. He's cut down by the cleavers. And there comes the damage. There goes the game.
Triple kill for Arrow to cap it all off. This will be the first 2-0 weekend for OpTic in the history of the organization.
Cloud9 tried to hit the green wall, and the wall hit back hard. OpTic Gaming put on a performance here today. They take down Cloud9, and they'll find themselves climbing even higher up the standings.
A mega clean game there from OpTic Gaming. Deathless for Arrow, 1 death for Acadian on the Zac champions that you don't associate with Acadian all the time. The engaged champion, he was all around the map. Same with Power of Evil, who did massive work this game.
You think of Acadian, normally you think of those carry-style champions, right? You think of something like a Graves, but on this Zac, he had an incredible performance today, always on the front line with those initiations, setting up the opportunity for Power of Evil to dive in, and for Arrow to just never even be under threat.
And he didn't have to play the carry champions today, because both of his carries were firing on all cylinders, and they played beautifully to knock down C9 and put C9 in 10th place.
Cloud9 looked like a team coming into this game that were finding their footing a little bit better. We talked about how Meteos mentioned on the desk how once Sneaky came back in, they managed to grab a couple of wins. They were looking better with him. When Licorice was playing well, things were going okay for them with him making some crazy outplays in the mid lane too, like what we saw yesterday on the Poppy when he rotated down to join the rest of the team and make moves there. But today, OpTic just shut it all down.
Yeah, it was pretty irrelevant from Licorice in the top lane. 0-5 was camped very hard. Same with Sneaky. Jensen was kind of the only person who had any say in this game, and was up against a Dr. Mundo as a Zoe, so he's going to absorb a lot of that damage, gets to the magic resist after the Warmogs, and so he's in a really good spot to just absorb and be this gigantic wall. And you saw there that OpTic, that was the happiest I've seen PoE since coming to North America here. This is his first 2-0 weekend. It kind of is validation that, you know, the team is getting better and that he made the right choice of coming over here and playing for the squad.
The smile on his face after that Omoiwa Mo Shindaru nothing personnel kid triple kill in the mid lane. That was great. I still don't know how to say that correctly.
Oh my one.
Yeah, that. You are already dead. The clip. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. That was incredible. You can just see how excited he's got to be putting on these performances and to see it pay off, to find those victories.
Yeah, and that's also something that they set him up for in Champion Select, where they were like, all right, we're going to give you the talent. They could have given him pretty much anything. They waited for his pick to see what Jensen had, and they didn't lock the Zoe in instantly. They said, that's a trap because we know how to play against it, and they're playing to their strengths, which is exactly what you want to see for the teams right now in the meta, is you don't always have to play all the powerful stuff. You got to play what's powerful and good for you.
I say it all the time, Irene, you've got to follow your heart sometimes, and that's exactly what we saw here today. But to hear more about that 2-0 weekend, we're going to hand it off to Ovly and the victorious jungler.
Thanks, guys. Acadian, congratulations to you and to OpTic for the first 2-0, and I guess in OpTic's entire history. I mean, what does the victory have, or what kind of an effect on the team morale and team mentality?
I think we're just really, really happy. We've never gotten a 2-0 before, and I think we were kind of slumping a little bit. Like, we were playing pretty well at the start of the season. We were playing really, really horribly for the last 3 weeks of just practice in LCS 2. So getting a 2-0, just I think everybody will be a lot more motivated going into future weeks. So yeah.
And coming into this game, Zabutin said that one of the focuses should be taking down Blabber, C9's newest jungler. He is a rookie. What was it like playing against him today?
I mean, he played Sejuani, so like it's kind of like all the other Sejuani players. I mean, Sejuani is going to ult some guy, and that's kind of his only job. I feel like when I play against Sejuani players, you don't really feel their impact that much because they're not going to like carry. But I think Blabber is one of those people who likes to play like the Kindred, Graves, stuff like that, the carry champions more. So maybe if you see more of that, maybe it'll look better. I don't know.
And people have been memeing about the PoE carry on OpTic, but today you and Arrow were also popping off as well. So do you think that more recognition is deserved to the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody does their part. You know, like maybe if Power of Evil carries, you see the Power of Evil like insane score on Victor, right? But what you don't see is like me and Terry coming middle, me and Big coming middle, and like denying. Yesterday, Bjergsen TP to mid. We were there to deny his CP, and just stuff like that. Like the support players, I think should get more recognition, especially Terry and Dokla, the people that sacrifice for the team. So I think everybody does their part. Obviously, Power of Evil is a great carry player, but yeah.
And we saw you released another Acadian vlog earlier this week, and you talked about kind of becoming the team shot caller. So how did you go about earning that role?
I wouldn't say I'm like the shot caller. I just said I say what to do in early game most of the time. That's kind of, I mean, I think that just is kind of the jungler role, right? The jungler, I think on most teams speaks a lot about the early game, what you should do, where the jungler is, what you should be playing for. And I think I just kind of naturally built this up over my career. So I just think every jungler should do that. I don't know, but I'm not really like the main shot caller. So
Who would you say is the main shot caller then?
it's a democracy. Everybody works together, you know.
Democracy. Well, your vlog is one of the main content pieces that we see from OpTic. We don't get to hear a lot from you guys. So is there anything that you would like to say to the fans after the team's big victory?
I guess thanks for all the kind words that you guys tell me every time after I say anything like that. I get a ton of nice messages on Twitter saying keep your head up and stuff like this when we're losing a lot, and it really boosts my morale. So thank you for the OpTic fans and anybody that has faith in us. So yeah.
And Acadian, thank you. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you, Avli. A 2-0 week for OpTic Gaming, moving to 4-6, up over Cloud9. I kind of like what he was getting at there, the idea that, the numbers can look great for Power of Evil, but it is very much a team effort.
That cannot be stated better. Like, the amount of credit that the people who set up plays get is so small compared to the guy getting the lion's share, the guy who's looking good.
I see 7 kills, I vote MVP.
You're right.
Also, if the guy who has the big numbers and he's setting up his own plays a lot of the time, then Power of Evil does deserve a lot of this credit he's getting. Yes, the support players deserve some, but not more than Power of Evil.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I think that's fair. I mean, he's quite clearly a talented player.
I'm not saying who did more, who did less, but I just think the support players don't get enough recognition.
Let's dive into this OpTic Gaming victory by looking at Champion Select first and foremost. We saw an early prioritization onto that Mundo, and I know you guys have some thoughts about how C9 responded.
I think C9's response here, it kind of made sense, but I don't know if it was the best that they could have done. So generally, if a team's going to first pick Mundo, the reason you don't see that more often is because Mundo's early game is so weak, it's very exploitable. And I would have liked to see Cloud9 perhaps make a better plan for exploiting that early game. They picked Sejuani, which kind of makes sense with the Trundle ban, but she's not that super aggressive early game jungler that can just split the map, play topside, punish the Mundo.
Yeah, there were some jungle bans, so I don't know if they were scared of getting pinched, because you think there you can take the Gnar or the Darius, who feel less resource intensive to put the Mundo behind than the Kled, who feels like he wants to combo with other people. And that was kind of the case in this game, that they never got the Kled rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Even with the Sejuani pick, right? It's not, Kindred or something. Against the Zac Mundo, you still smash that 2v2. And they never really, found that opening early on, which we kind of thought they were going to go for. And then I think the real disaster of this game for Cloud9 was, of course, Power of Evil's early roam to the bottom side, where this huge bottom fight kind of spirals the game out of control.
All right, Talon, with his mobility on that smite, definitely didn't have the kind of foresight to know that he would be traveling down here to turn this into a 4v3.
Yeah, this was definitely not a good situation for Cloud9. So if we back up a little bit, Cloud9 did take an early Ocean Drake off of Talon's initial roam to the top side, but what that did is gave OpTic a recall up on them. So OpTic was forcing a 2v2 because they had item advantage. Cloud9 thought that with Sejuani they could turn it into a 3v2, but they didn't account for Talon coming faster, for Zac already being in the lane, and they ended up just getting obliterated.
Item disadvantage, number disadvantage spells disaster for Cloud9. A quick 5 kills go over to the camp of OpTic, and now they're off to the races.
Right, and that's why the Kled pick seems probably, in hindsight, not the right thing to go for, because if you take the Gnar, he can punish the Mundo more by himself. He doesn't need the assistance, because he's not going to get any versus Talon. Talon will always be roaming to the bot side or up to the top side, so you have to understand that you're going to have a hard time getting numbers advantages in the early game.
I kind of have to fault the Kled pick a little bit, because if you look at OpTic's draft, when Cloud9 had that last pick, they are a very low range, very meaty comp. You know, they've got a lot of big boy tanks. They've got Zach, Mundo, etc.
Tom Kench, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're playing Mundo with a Zach jungler, and Zach's probably the weakest early game jungler that's like ever picked. And so if you're not able to punish that early, then I feel like you're kind of missing out on a huge opportunity to punish. So I don't know about Kled. He's not really good into that kind of comp. Generally something that would shred tanks or can kite all those melees probably would have been better. But, you know, with the Gnar and Darius banned out, those would have been 2 good picks. But I still think there's something better he could have picked, maybe like a GP or something like that.
I think one thing, though, that you can never fault Cloud9 for is the fact that they will look for ways to get back into the game, and that's exactly what they did 21 minutes in. This does end up in an ace for OpTic Gaming because of Power of Evil. Keep your eyes on him off to the left of your screen right there.
They find the initial pickoff onto Big, who was in the middle of not having a flash due to the unsealed spell book, but that's not really the guy they need to focus. And PoE, with all that down, there's not much lockdown left for him, so he goes through the whole fight stealth, so they have no idea where he's going to pop out, comes out the backside, finds the kills, disengages, which allows Acadian to reinitiate onto the front line before they all collapse in. And he could have got the Penta here, but it doesn't feel like they wanted to give it to him after some of that scuttle tweet flame that he had for his teammates.
They saw his roam to the, he did his initial roam to the top lane to gank a few of Douglas minions.
Yeah,
he didn't forget that. But I do think a lot of this game came down to Cloud9 either not respecting or not understanding how much mobility Talon has. Because with that Tiamat and mobility boost, he's going to instantly clear the mid wave. And with his wall jumps, he can show up in the side lane in like 10 seconds, way faster than anyone else. So most of the fights Cloud9 lost was actually them forcing an engagement and then not accounting for Talon coming in and cleaning everyone up.
And full credit to OpTic, you know, picking this champion for him, planning around Power of Evil, getting him a champion that can affect the whole map so quickly, and having those other supports like Acadian's talking about to set up these plays and at least soak cooldowns. Because an assassin can do a lot, but he can't be the one starting it off, right? So a lot of these fights and those replays, the similarity was a bunch of cooldowns were used early on the Zach or, you know, on the Tom Kench or something.
First 2-0 week for the organization feels good to kick off the second half of the summer split. We're stepping away. When we return, FlyQuest aims to continue their climb up the standings versus 100 Thieves. See that matchup after the break.
Cloud9 trying to run over, make this happen. We'll see if Power of Evil is able to find the damage into the back line. As Arrow grabbing the first blood and make that one a double kill. That's Power of Evil.
Nice. Get him, get him. Go back. All right, calm down, boys. Calm down. Good shit.
Top wants to keep himself alive. He takes him down. Dopeland, the 1 versus 2's got the outplay. While the rest of OpTic Gaming see their chance to make even more happen. Ever taking low, Jensen having to flash out himself. PoE in the back. It's Dazzle in the front line. PoE into the back line. Looking to cut all these guys down, but Sneaky's able to find some damage.
Zaya kills Zaya.
You guys go in. You guys end off this. If you kill him, you end. Go good.
Please.
Welcome back to Assist of the Week. During the Week 4 Counterlogic Gaming and Cloud9 match, CLG set their sights on Baron, and Cloud9 knew they had to intervene. Hoping to catch CLG limping away, Cloud9 sprung into action. CLG's Biofrost and Rainover jumped into the fray and acted as shields against the Cloud9 onslaught. Their sacrifice gave CLG enough time to win the encounter and eventually win the game.
It's Zazel trying to hold it off, and it looks like Licorice knows he needs the back. CLG are closing down on what could be the win as Licorice backs.